You're listening to LOA Recon with the Good Vibe Coach Jeanette Ma, where we dissect the ins and outs and the art and science of conscious creation, all intended to amp up your manifesting game. Let's have some fun together. Hey, thanks for tuning in for another episode. In fact, thanks also for all the nice notes that you've sent, the messages that you write me, the reviews that you leave. Oh my gosh. In fact, let's dedicate this new episode to Sarah and friends in the UK. Sarah sent me the nicest message. It made me cry. I loved it a lot. Thank you, Sarah. And thanks everyone for listening. So you've heard me talk before about how I giggle inside a little bit. Sometimes out loud, I giggle every time I hear myself say, in order to prove my point, they've done studies. There's a study that showed, or research proves. As a conscious creator, that's a ridiculous thing for me to rely on to make a point. I mean, maybe I could use that argument with a Muggle if I wanted to speak their language, but I shouldn't fall for this myself. I know better than to think that just because someone else got a particular result in a lab or in their research that makes it so. Like, that's just how it is. That's not the case. Just because someone else claims to have proven it true doesn't mean that it is, or at least it doesn't mean that it has to be true for me if I don't want it to be. Because what makes it so is simply that someone focused it into being. Our attention to things literally alters the physical makeup of them. We're rearranging atoms based on what we observe. And they've known this for several decades. They've done studies. They've proven the way we pay attention to something changes what we get. You know those double-slit particle experiments, that Copenhagen interpretation stuff where Niels Bohr and Albert Einstein were arguing about it? Oh my gosh, and Niels Bohr turned out to be right. At least seems to me he's right. Since we all get to choose, obviously I'm choosing this version. In fact, it tripped out a lot of the top thinkers back then, and it still does, to think that there isn't, or to realize that there isn't some measurable truth that we can pinpoint and all agree on conclusively, because there isn't one overarching truth to be discovered. We're creating reality based on what we think. So someone's willingness to think a thing true doesn't mean that it's true for you or for anyone else. You can join in that version if you like, but don't be surprised when someone else proves something else true next month or next year. You know this. One day, cholesterol levels are the thing we got to watch, and the next week someone's proven cholesterol has no correlation to all the things they used to think it did. Or one day you'll read about how social media is linked to anxiety and depression. But then there's another study proving that social media users report feeling happier and more connected. And some will explain that, Muggles will explain that by saying that it's just a matter of flawed methodology, that it's not that everyone's right. Don't be ridiculous, people. They'll say it's that there was something wrong with the study. Like, actually, this is an accepted thing, apparently, in research where you can throw out some of your test results if you want to. I think they do that a lot when they're doing research for drugs to prove that it's effective enough beyond the placebo effect that they can actually market it. It seems crazy to me. But sometimes they'll argue things like, they didn't use a large enough sample, or that it's not repeatable by others, or no one else has attempted to repeat it, so you can't believe it yet. Or they'll say the research was funded by certain sponsors. That tripped me out. So I just watched the documentary not too long ago, What the Health? And they were talking about... So I just sort of believed eggs were healthy for you. Guess what? That research was sponsored by the egg industry. Good Lord. Okay, I'm just saying that just because someone claims to have proven something doesn't have to mean anything for you. And you know what? I know better than anyone. I used to work in market research. We could get any numbers we were paid to get. This is one reason I left this industry. Or even if we had the same numbers, you could present them in the perspective that your boss or your client wanted you to. Like, you could say, a whopping 40% of inner city residents think the mayor should resign. Or you could say the overwhelming majority of residents see no reason for change. Both things are true. Or both things are accurate. Okay, here's what I'm trying to say and why I'm talking about this with you, my fellow creators. Let's not let anyone steer our attention where we don't want our reality to go. If there's something someone else has quote-unquote proven in studies that contradicts your desire, like say someone said chocolate is bad for you, you know what, actually, there's a doctor or a nutritionist, someone who, there's probably more than one, because guess what? We'll get what we look for. Neil deGrasse Tyson says the internet is the biggest confirmation bias machine out there. It'll prove, whatever we Google, someone will have said it. I know there's at least one expert who said, look, women need chocolate. And she explained why. It was a beautiful thing. It made it so much easier to feel good about chocolate intake. Okay. What was I saying? So if there's something that someone's proven that isn't what you want, like whatever it might be, I'm saying just know that that was one result that one person or one team might have manifested when they looked at it, but it doesn't have to have anything to do with what you create. I really want you to unlock yourself from what someone else says is so. Are you feeling liberated? It's really because the power isn't in someone else dictating what reality is for us. Our power lies in choosing our own reality, whatever we want that to be. And you know what? When we're looking at a study result that makes it easier for us to believe in what we want, and by all means, leverage that. We can believe in that study. We can quote that. But let's not let someone else's official scientific proven result collapse our hopes or dreams in whatever it is that we want. Those results can be for them if they want, not for you if you don't want. At least it doesn't have to be that way when we remember that we're each creating our own reality. There isn't one for all of us to agree on. That's never going to happen. So let's choose what we prefer. And really, that's the trick here for us. It's to not join the masses in what they're paying attention to when that's not what we prefer. Eventually, when we find the willingness to invest in the vision of what we want, the reality is going to morph around us. That's what it does. They've done studies. All right, so I actually quote studies pretty frequently with usually muggles. When I'm talking with them about the power of the mind, like I'll quote the placebo studies. Hello. Oh, my favorite is the sham knee surgery that they gave those people who had something wrong with their knees, and they'd make out like they were getting the knee surgery to fix it. And the ones who just got this sham surgery, look, in some studies, they heal just as good, and in some, they heal even better than the ones who got the actual surgery. Oh, sometimes I'll quote Lynn McTaggart's, she wrote a book called The Intention Experiment, and she covered research that they did where they asked participants to alter things that had already happened, and they did. Repeatedly. They've done studies like that in a variety of ways. Look at me. I quote these studies to remind people of our power. And the meditation studies, when the meditators come together in a certain city and they affect the crime rates, they lower the crime rates. I'm saying I'm not opposed to benefiting from the research when we can. But I know enough to be in charge of my own self, and I'd like you to be too, in charge of yourself and your reality. If someone said to me, like, a doctor or someone who had some authority said, I've never seen anyone come back from this, or I've never seen this heal, I'd know that they'd never met the likes of me, or any of my fellow creators who know that reality is whatever we are willing to think it into being. Anything is possible that we're willing to invest our attention in. How cool is that? It isn't true because someone discovered some inherent objective truth for all of us and that this is the way it is for us, whether we like it or not. They proved it true because they just focused on it long enough to make it so. And we can do that with anything we are willing to focus on long enough to make it so. What someone else proves is true, it doesn't have to be your truth if you're willing to choose otherwise. And that's what we're doing with our entire reality. We're observing it into existence. So the next time someone tries to argue their point by saying they've done studies, don't let that carry too much weight with you. Unless it's a point you would also like to prove true for yourself, then by all means, hello, they've done studies. Everyone knows this. It is so. Because we're selective and focused and cool like that. In fact, I've got a little study of my own going right now. You know how they say you can't win if you don't play? Which seems true, right? How can you win if you don't play? Oh, I know that anything we're willing to focus on, we can prove true. So I'm going to prove that you can. I already am. It's a different podcast. Oh, but I already am. Got great evidence of how you can win even when you don't play. Because anything we're willing to focus on is going to come true. Let's use that power judiciously. Thanks for listening, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you on the next episode.